Furonda or Frederick Douglass. Like, who is that exactly? And
Ain't
I
nothing
want
wrong
people
with
to
ain't nothing wrong with Frederick Douglass.
ain't nothing wrong with Frederick Douglass. I am not Frederick Douglass though. That's the only
True,
thing.
true, true,
I just ain't Frederick Douglass. Let me get back to my screen. Where are we?
true.
Here we go. So let me if you give me 2 seconds
Oh yeah, you good, you good.
and then
I'm very humorous, so I just warn you that ahead of time. I very witty and do a lot of banters and everything like that. I have a good sense of humor, so I say that in advance because sometimes it's received well by people and other times it isn't. So I have to throw that disclaimer out there. That's just my nature. No, I intend to offend nobody in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just a very spirited individual when you get to know me. So that's how I roll.
well listen, Clay, I am I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I am not easily offended at all.
Good.
And I appreciate you giving me some a moment to
Oh yeah, you good. You good.
shape my hair. I just got out of a another meeting with somebody that was committed to
That's good.
misunderstanding what I was saying, so it took much longer
Oh, you fine. You
than it
good.
should have. Are you gonna be in Montgomery this weekend?
I would love to be in Montgomery if an invite was extended to me.
Could you could be in Montgomery this weekend?
I could, as long as the invite's extended. I don't go anywhere aimlessly. It has to be for a purpose, and you know what I mean.
So it's a national rally in Montgomery this weekend.
Okay.
All roads lead to the south, and
Okay.
we are all going. The faith leaders are going to meet in Selma at 9 tomorrow
Okay.
to meet. They're going to meet. They're going to pray. They're going to walk over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and then there's going to be a mass rally in
Mm-hmm.
in Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of my comrades from around the country that work on all types of different work from electoral justice to criminal justice, we're all going down.
Okay. That's
So a
good.
lot of the Ignite the South people will be there as well.
That's good. That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm always down for a good cause. I just need to know who, what, when, where, how, why, dates and times, locations. That's that's it basically.
And I'm plugging my computer on and I'm turning my camera on. So give me 2 more seconds and we are ready to roll, Clay.
All right. Cool, cool, cool.
How long have you been like affiliated with Ignite the South?
I'm not feeling it anyway. My affiliation began when I met you, Tam, and D in Durham.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I so I worked at the state, but it's one of my side quests. So so when I travel, I could get discounts and everything like that. But that's how I connected with y'all. I met you too, so
Yeah.
you may
So,
not remember meeting me in person, but I definitely remember you.
well, yeah, I remember. Stop mic. Let's see. How do I turn my camera on?
I've even applied for the cohort coming up.
Really?
I did.
That's fantastic. You know,
Use
my
y'all.
huh?
I use y'all as a reference too.
Yay! Please do. You know, my
Indeed.
executive director recommended that I participate, and I'm so glad that I did because the
Mm-hmm.
relationships that I made across the South are just invaluable, and like people are doing the work for real. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here we
Okay.
go. Okay, I'm turning my camera on when I figure out how to do this.
And
There
I
we go.
heard, not heard, but I heard you were you have a famous backstory too.
That's what
Uh,
the people say.
That's what they say.
That is what the people say.
Yeah, but it's a small world out there. But you have your own identity that can stand alone from many life experiences. So it's only addressed if you want to address it. But
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about anything.
I've worked in, I've been in many places, spaces, so it's very, I, I'm definitely not phased, but I'm aware, but I know how to act accordingly. I just put it to you that way. I've lived everywhere. I lived in New York, L.A., San Fran, London, Paris.
Oh
My
wow.
family's here in North Carolina. I
What were
lived
you
in
modeling?
What was that?
Were you modeling?
I've done modeling. Whoa, dang, you good. I've done modeling too. But I don't tell everybody that. It's not, I mean, I'm not going around the barbershop telling brothers that or at the game.
Hey, brother, did you know I used to be a model?
I ain't just dropping it like that, you know.
Hey, brother.
I was younger, in my
I think this will help us
early
get a better
20s
shot.
as a kid, but yeah,
Yeah, that's a better shot.
that's
And
good.
then my birthday balloons are up
Oh,
on the.
it was your birthday recently?
Yeah, I had a birthday. It was my 45th birthday.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, God bless you on another year around the sun. And what exactly was your 45th birthday, as you described?
It was 80 April 19th.
Oh, okay, okay. It's about a
Yep.
month ago. All right, okay. Well, cool, cool, cool. Well, happy belated birthday. You
Thanks,
just like
Clay.
me. I'll keep the balloons up until they lose the helium. They gonna drop down. So Miss Furonda, just tell us your backstory. How did you become who you are today? In any way you want to describe that.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Clay. I started in social justice. I started in social justice early. I was always one of those kids that was like, you gonna let them do that to you? No, you can't do that to them. You know, I've always been an advocate my entire life. Seeing injustice. I tell the story a lot when I was in like kindergarten, first grade. I realized, is everything okay?
No, it's just hot. It's hot.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, do I need to remove this down?
No. It's hot. It's hot.
Okay,
We're from cold to hot here, real quick in North Carolina.
absolutely. So I've been, I like I said, I've been an advocate my whole life, and I was able to understand injustice really early on. I tell the story all the time when I was in kindergarten, first grade, and we were learning to read. I was in a group called the Superstars, and we sat down in the middle of the classroom on this really colorful rug, and we had all these visual learning aids and posters and things. But a lot of my friends and classmates were on the perimeter of the classroom, and they were called the bears. And you did not want to be a bear, Clay. You did not want to be a bear. They were in groups over by themselves. The teacher very rarely interacted with them, and if she did, she was screaming at them. And I was wondering, like, why are you treating these people kids like this? So that was like my bear. And I would ask my mom, and I would, if somebody on the outside of the classroom had a question, I would raise my hand, and the teacher would call on me, and I would say, hey, my classmate across the room at the edge of the classroom, they have a question, and so that's the first like advocacy that I can think of. And when I was in law school, I really found my advocacy legs, started doing weekly protests. We called them Truthful Tuesdays, and we would go to the Capitol and we would talk about issues. That's the time in Arkansas where we were trying to get our legislators to pass the healthcare expansion here in Arkansas. We were successful in doing that. Started working in death penalty abolition. Damian Eccles, who was one of the West Memphis Three, if you all know the story, if you don't, you should look it up. He had been released while I was in law school. He had been released from Arkansas death row. He came and he spoke to us. And it really was eye-opening to me because as a child, I had watched that trial play out. That was like one of the first televised trials here in the state of Arkansas. And I'd watched that trial play out. And then to see him as a free man, to come back to the law school and to talk about his years on death row, the fact that he could no longer really see. He had gone virtually blind on death row because of the conditions. And And this man didn't do anything. And not only that, the state of Arkansas forced him to take an Alfred plea. They would not just outright exonerate him. So they forced him to take a plea where he said, well, I know that the state, if the state retries me, that they've got enough evidence to convict me. And that's the way that our state gets around compensating people or admitting any type of wrongdoing. And so that's really when I got involved with the death penalty and with the Arkansas campaign to end the death penalty, to an Arkansas campaign to abolish the death penalty. Started working on cases, advocating for cases. When I graduated law school, I became the executive director of the Arkansas Coalition to abolish the death penalty. And
Nice.
then after some years in the movement, started working with the U.S. campaign to end the death penalty, formerly known as the Eighth Amendment Project.
Okay, okay. I love to hear all that. So, what brought you around? What brought you around to Ignite the South? Or how did tell me how that began?
So actually, my executive director, Laura Porter, recommended that I consider this program, Ignite the South. I had honestly not heard of it before. And I did the application process, was accepted, and started the program. And it has been such a phenomenal and pivotal point in my career as an organizer, as an activist, as a Black woman living in the South. Understanding more about the struggles that the shared struggles that we are experiencing across states, these former slave holding states, and to engage with like-minded individuals, organizers, teachers, change makers across the South that we came together a number of different times to basically have like a think tank to understand exactly what issues each individual person was dealing with in their locations, and working together on some shared solutions. And I'm so excited that Ignite the South didn't stop there, and we are really, really working together to ignite the South.
That's great. What are you hoping comes from that going forward? Obviously in your own walk in life and just collectively with our community, with just Black people in general, or anyone who wants to be liberated.
Sure. One of the things that I hope is coming forward is that people across the South, across the country, but starting in the South, because we are the epicenter of oppression. We, as goes the South, goes the nation. You've heard them many, many times, but these atrocities, these oppressions, these model legislations that they pass, they all start in the South, and many of them start here in the state of Arkansas, where there is not a tremendous amount of opposition. There are some of us that are there regularly speaking out against issues, but the concerted effort, the concerted mobilization that we've seen in other areas, we are not experiencing that. We're building that right now. Rebuilding that, because we know Arkansas and Little Rock was the ground zero for integration in this country. But what I'm hoping to see from Ignite the South is us to continue to lock arms, to move forward together, to share each other's struggles, to understand that the redistricting in Louisiana is affecting the people in Alabama, which is affecting the people in Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, like Texas. We are in this fight together, and that's how we move forward. We move forward together, and we can do so much more when we work together. And so that's what I'm not hoping comes out of Ignite the South. That's what's coming out of Ignite the South. Like, all roads lead to the South. We are on our way to Alabama now to support our comrades that are doing this really important work to fight back against the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act. And so that's what has come of Ignite the South, like a coalition of people that, hey, you can call and say, pull up, I need you, and we're coming.
That's cool. Have you lived in Arkansas your whole life?
I haven't lived in Arkansas my whole life, but I've lived in Arkansas longer than I've lived anywhere else. And so I'm keenly aware of the struggles here, of how being a former slave state affects the policies here, affects the quality of life of the citizens here, the poverty that we're experiencing and seeing, the mass incarceration that is perpetrated amongst people, the war on drugs that continues today. So I am an Arkansan through and through.
Oh, okay. How long have you lived in Arkansas?
Ooh, how long have I lived in Arkansas? I've lived, I was not born in Arkansas, but we moved here. I graduated high school here. I went to the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. I went to
You're
law school
a
here,
Razorback.
and I'm a Razorback. I'm also a Bowenite. I went to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, William H. Bowen School of Law, and that's where I gained my Juris Doctor and I began practicing law here in Arkansas. I'm licensed to practice law here in Arkansas. I had my first real organizing job here in Arkansas, so I'm an Arkansan through and through.
Okay. Have you ever done any lobbying or rallying work with or against Walmart since they're headquartered there? And obviously in Bentonville. You hear me?
Next question.
Okay. 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 So yeah, I see that you have a backstory where you were once a contestant on America's Next Top Model. Could you would you like to share any bit of that past, or have it shaped you at all to where you are today?
Absolutely. That is a fun fact. In a former life, I was on a little reality show called America's Next Top Model. And that was a unique experience. It was an experience that has worked to shape my worldview and to expand my horizons in ways that I had not the ways that I expected, but in some valuable ways. And so I'm really appreciative of the relationships that I was able to build on America's Next Top Model. As a matter of fact, I was on season 6 of America's Next Top Model, and my castmates and I recently convened. We had a reunion. We actually met up for my birthday, April 19th. And so we were all in New York City downloading, chatting with each other, bringing and reminiscing about our time on the show, catching up with each other. Like, we are all grown women now. Most of the girls have families, husbands, and children. And so lots of pictures being exchanged. But it was a really good time for us to come together, especially after the groundbreaking Netflix documentary that came out in like February of this year. So it was a really good time for us to come together, to love on each other and really to heal, Clay. That was a really, a lot of people might not think so, but it was a really traumatic experience for a lot of the participants. And so it was really good to come together with my castmates, people that had that shared experience, and to really download, to catch up, and to heal.
Do you, given the controversy, since you did bring it up, and of course, just like with the Walmart, you can say next question, but do you have any experiences that were negative or that are consistent for what was being portrayed in that Netflix piece?
Sure. It was really cathartic to hear other stories, other girls' stories. Danielle Evans, she's from right here in Little Rock, Arkansas. She was a season winner, season 6, and when I participated, and to hear her story, her experience, and being such an amazing, breathtaking, beautiful woman, and then having so many doors closed in her face simply because of her participation in the show. And then for the producers, Jay Manuel, Tyra Banks, for those folks to essentially admit that they knew that participating in the show was going to prevent prevent us from having the modeling careers that they had promised us and that they were dangling over our heads. To hear them say that our participation in the show would be the nail in the coffin for many of our modeling careers, or the level of the modeling career that we hoped to experience. To hear that was really heartbreaking. And in addition to that, to hear some of the other things, like we knew that they were not picking our best picture. We knew that because we posed so many different ways, and we'd taken 1,000 pictures, and then they come with this crazy looking picture. Like, what is this? And then when we would say, "Hey, that's not my best picture," they gaslight us, they'd abuse us, they harass us, and make us feel like it was our fault. We need to take responsibility for this jacked up picture that they intentionally picked. And they to hear them admit that was it was infuriating. It was but it was also a relief. It's like, oh wow, I'm not crazy. Like, all these years, 20 years later, I wasn't crazy to think that
Right.
this is what was happening, because they were manipulating and lying to us. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm definitely glad you came out on top of it better, and obviously, and you found other passions in life that are obviously fulfilling you to where you can pour back in to others. So that's definitely good. I remember I only saw first couple of seasons. I didn't see your season, so
You gotta go watch it, Clay.
I, I actually will. I actually will look up some clips. Like, oh, dang, okay, okay. But I certainly will. Since you given me your blessing too. So yeah, I didn't want. I could have done that, but I didn't want to like taint. Like yeah. But you get that. You get all that. But anyway, that's good. So just kind of moving forward from that, we're in a big midterm election year, obviously, and what are some of the big issues in Arkansas right now that you are, or even candidates causes, especially that you're focused on, that are on the ballots, or just anything in between?
Our Arkansas legislature has special session this year, and some of the things that have gone through is, while our poor citizens are struggling to eat, we're cutting SNAP benefits. We're giving tax breaks to some of the highest earners in this state. We are divesting from public education, and we are funneling those funds to private and charter schools by way of vouchers, so that people can formally divest from the public education that hurts our most vulnerable populations. I think the figure that came out here in Pulaski County, Arkansas, is that we've got about 6,000, I think, third graders that could be retained because of their performance on a standardized test. So we've got some issues here. We are one of the highest states for child mortality and in childbirth. We for child poverty, for food insecurity. Those are all issues that we should be addressing, but the governor is addressing things like anti-woke, which is code word for anti-black. Let's keep it real.
Yep, it is.
So those are the types of priorities that have been set by this administration, and it is not considering what the everyday Arkansan needs. We have farmers that are going bankrupt every single day in record numbers, and we've our state, local, federal government are focused on things like infusing data centers into our most vulnerable communities. And so those are some of the fights that we have here in Arkansas. Economic mobility, making sure that people of all walks of life, especially the people that go and work every single day, that they can afford to live in our state. So those are some of the fights that we are tackling here in the state of Arkansas, trying to abolish the death penalty. Arkansas has recently, we were one of the first, well, we are one of the first states that has passed legislation to allow for nitrogen gas executions. And when you think of nitrogen gas executions, what you should be thinking about is the world's history of the Holocaust and how so many Jews were taken to concentration camps and gassed. Gas is not something that you can even is allowable to use to put a dog to sleep, but yet we have authorized the use of nitrogen gas to kill humans, and so those are some of the things that we're fighting here in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, it's crazy because even our former president, who was also your former governor, was a proponent of the death penalty, and it's just amazing how we're still having these conversations about. I think public opinion is more in favor of abolishing it. I mean, now I'm talking about the whole national populace. Obviously, that might differ if you go obviously in if you measure it out to just the population of Arkansas, but I'm in the South as well. Obviously, not the deep South, but in North Carolina, to where it's swaying slightly to more towards a more pro abolition of it. So
Mhm.
the efforts are being made, and there's definitely a lot more sentiment in that regard. We haven't had as many executions here in North Carolina in a long time, thankfully, but there's still ways to go on a
Yeah.
broader scale.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really appreciate about North Carolina is the Racial Justice Act that was passed there. Now, there's been some back and forth with the Racial Justice Act, but there has been an acknowledgement in North Carolina that race affects who gets the death penalty. And that's something that every state needs to acknowledge, especially the states that are here in the deep South, because that sordid history of slavery, racial terror, lynching cannot be disconnected from the modern day death penalty. It is absolutely a through line that between lynching and racial terror lynching, and we have to talk about that, and we have to talk about why African Americans receive the death penalty at a much higher rate, an exorbitant rate. Here in Arkansas, it's over two times an African American is more likely to receive the death penalty for a capital crime versus their white counterpart, who is over two times more likely to receive the more lenient sentence of life without parole. And so the color of your skin can mean whether you live or die, and that is unacceptable.
Absolutely, for sure. But that's all I have for you now, Miss Brasfield. I appreciate you and I appreciate your time and everything that you're doing. I've never been to Arkansas before. I've always wanted to go, like in the past, but it's never too late. I've always wanted to go to all 50 states in this country, quite frankly. But how can how can we all support you and everything you're doing going forward so you can continue to charge and everything else?
Well, absolutely. You've got an open invitation to come visit me in Arkansas,
All right.
Clay. But if you, in the meantime, if you want to connect with me, if you want to connect with the U.S. campaign to end the death penalty, you can visit us at www.enddeathpenalty.org. That's www.enddeathpenalty.org, and we'd be happy to get you engaged. You can look on our website, you can see what's happening with the death penalty in a city or state near you, how you can get engaged, what are the state organizations that are working on death penalty abolition in your area. And you can connect with the U.S. campaign to end the death penalty. We would love to have you. We need all hands on deck because the death penalty is a fascist tool. And as long as we have the death penalty on the books, we will continue to see these fascist and authoritarian attacks and tactics that we continue to see today.
Cool. Well, love it. Well, that is it, Miss Brasfield, and thank you for this again. So you're free to go, but yeah, let's definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Clay. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, you have a good one. I'll talk to you later.
You too, bye.
Bye bye.